We're now anchored at this little spore island just to the north of the Addison Point Bridge. This is the NASA Causeway, which goes across from the mainland over here to the Space Center. Again, as I'm panning around sort of east, that white building out there is the vehicle assembly building, and somewhere around here there's a dozen or so launch sites out here. There's supposed to be a launch tonight. Don't know exactly when and where, if it's going to be at the Space Center or the Canaveral Air Force Base, which is right next to it. We've just kind of stopped here, anchored in the lee of this island to get out of the wind. The wind's still blowing 15, 18 knots. The island is mostly rock, so we didn't pull right up on it. Didn't want to bang up the boat. We're in about 3 foot of water right now. There's supposed to be a cold front come through tonight, so the wind is supposed to switch from southwest to northwest sometime, and there's not a lot of protection from both here or right around here. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit tight here, wait till about 4:30, check the weather report, and see when that front may run through, and then we'll try to decide where we need to go. Well, we've moved here from the little island where we were earlier, which is back to the east over here, over by that, beyond that sailboat, about a mile. We've come over into the northwest side of the causeway. This is the NASA Causeway, and anchored in here. There's still pretty good winds. The winds are going to be like 25 knots. They're running 20 now. There's a bit of a cold front going to run through. The wind's going to shift from the southeast to the southwest. So we can't get in real close because it's shallow right up here. We tried, but we got up real shallow. But at least we got good wave protection. There's still a bit of wind. Here's a quickie little bit of video of my handheld Garmin GPS that I use as my backup GPS, but it also has an anchor alarm that I use and at night, so in case we're dragging anchor. And I set a waypoint where the anchor is. If you can see that pattern on there, that's after 4 or 5 hours of sitting here. And if you see the little place that says Addison Point, a little spot right in there, that's where I originally set the thing at. And in the middle of all this, I don't know if you can see it, right about there is a little white arrow that's tracking back and forth. So that just kind of shows you that we've been tracking back and forth in kind of a half moon pattern as the McGregor swings back and forth as they do. So we're staying kind of in the middle of the pattern there, so we're not dragging. The pattern gets a little bit thick because, of course, as the wind blows more, it stretches out the anchor line and the chain, and the boat falls back a little bit. And then again, when the wind goes a little bit lower, it drops down and pulls the boat a little bit closer. So nothing to worry about in that little bit. But see, we got a pretty nice little crescent shape going, which is okay. It's now Friday morning, about 8 o'clock. Here is the catamaran. It's anchored 100 yards or so to our east. As you can possibly tell by looking at him, that he is now facing northwest instead of southeast. The front came through last night about 4:20 or so and hit us pretty hard, and so we've turned, as predicted, to the northwest, and so we should be able to have a nice run right down to Cocoa Beach, to Lee Warner Park, and take our boat out. Started raining at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and then around 4:20 the wind hit us. It hit us pretty hard. We're
bouncing and rocking and rolling, having a good old time.
And we had winds of 25 to 30 knots, and the boat was really swinging. I'll show you my GPS here. You can see our pattern there for our whole anchorage. Half a circle The anchor would have been right about in the middle of that pattern. You can see the one little section in the middle that's real thin. There's actually one little section, just one little line in there from when the wind hit and changed direction pretty suddenly. We just swung right around. So our ankle held beautifully, and we did fine.
All right, we've just come through the Addison Point Bridge, and we're going down the river back to the boat ramp, and we're on a broad reach with the Genoa out at about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way out, 3/4 maybe, and we're doing about 3.2, about 4 knots. 4 knots there, 4.5. Heading back home, and the winds are blowing from the northwest as they said they would, at about 15 or so. But fortunately, we are going downwind, so it'll be a nice ride. Here I am for the first time that I can remember, while we're sailing, underway, warming up some water on the stove, heating up some water on the stove because it's cold outside. What do you say the temperature is outside there?
Oh,
Probably about 62?
yeah, 62.
Not very warm, that's for sure.
Not very warm at all.
Anyway, we still have the wind behind us. We're on a beam reach still, more or less?
No, on a broad again.
Broad reach, I'm sorry. And it's still pretty close to 15 knots.
Alright, we've tied up here at the Courtesy Dock here at Lee Warner Park in Cocoa after our rundown. 3-hour dockage. You can see a couple people sitting here. There was another boat here a minute ago. The weather, oddly enough, is supposed to be 20 to 25 knots, and then later this afternoon 15 to 20 knots, but it's about 7 or 8 knots out there, even out there. The last hour to sail we were only going 1.9, 2 knots or something on a run. Earlier this morning we were hitting 6 knots, so it's quite calm. There's the Bonnie Blue back in the driveway in Orlando after our 3-day trip to Cocoa in the space area. What you didn't see is we had a little excitement at the boat ramp dock. When we came into the boat ramp, threw a spring line down onto the last cleat on the finger dock to stop us and hold us, and the cleat pulled out. So the boat swung around on the corner of the finger dock and put a nice scratch, a couple of nice scratches in the gel coat here. We had to jump down on the dock and grab the lines and the boat hook and horse the boat around because it was sticking on the very corner of the finger dock there. As you can see, we're all salt encrusted and all that. So unloading, cleaning, washing, flushing the motor, all the usual things. Summation of the trip: we spent 3 days, 2 nights, and on the boat. Our only expenses were $4.75 tolls to drive there, and about 6 gallons of gas in the tow vessel, the car, to get there at about 12 miles a gallon. The amount of boat gas that we burned in the whole 3 days was so little that I can't even measure it with my dipstick. Our 3-day Cocoa Beach, Cocoa, Florida trip.